Kyle, how are you?
I'm well.
Look like you're musing.
Yeah, you've recovered from your actual cancer.
Yeah. I recovered from my actual cancer. I gotta say, I took my cancer like a man. I didn't complain one bit. I mean, I complained to y'all or whatever on the show for entertainment value. Nobody in my family had to deal with my cancer diagnosis. And I don't even feel like I milked it for like attention or viewership or anything. I was just like, I have an eye patch. I have an eye patch this week, so just please don't make fun too much.
Did I miss a show? I don't think I think I had it done on a Friday. Maybe I missed Tuesday because I looked like a monster. I was too vain, I think.
Yeah,
so I might have missed a PKN.
They made these little delicate cuts to remove the cancer, but it looked like I'd been beaten. Like there was so much bruising and stuff, and that doesn't. I don't understand how that works. I wish I had a physician to be like, oh, you're cutting these blood vessels, and so those are all dying on this end and having to be replenished or something. That's not bruising. That's this. But it looked like I'd been punched in the head like a UFC fighter and cut.
Yeah.
And then
it's definitely bruising. Like
your surgery,
your blood, and they do a shitty job. Like I've had that happen where you get go in for a blood test and the person sucks at it, and you end up getting a bruise at that location because basically you're just bleeding subcutaneously because they fuck it up.
If I understand, Kyle's surgery was they took a wedge out of his eyelid and then sewed it back together.
Yeah, and then they cut out here so that they would have enough eyelid to stretch over because we lost some.
Okay,
that
they
was
took a football out of the bridge of my nose, and the place was cool. They do this particular surgery as their specialty, so they removed some. They tested it in 2 doors over, not outside, but in the same building, 15 feet away. They tested it, and then they took a little more, and then that came back clean, and they sewed me up. And they're plastic surgeons that specialize in the bridge of the nose. They were the guys you want for this, but I still I'm I make a living on camera and they're really mean.
They're really mean. We've cultivated a huge group of bullies over the years. Would it be us? No.
Certainly not. I was being bullies every week.
Just a fun group of guys having a good
That's what we're doing right now. We're bullying right now.
I know there's someone out there with melanoma who's screaming stolen valor at their computer or their car radio right now.
I came back with the cancer survivor t-shirt.
Dude,
that's great. That is the stubbed toe of cancer.
I gotta say,
me and that guy with pancreatic fighting for his life, we're both warriors.
It was one of the
he wasn't strong enough to defeat his cancer.
Wow, it was one of the most uncomfortable things I've ever dealt with in my life. I've always been weird about my eyes. I don't if I get a hair in there, my mom would be like, yeah, let me just roll your eyelid backwards with this Q-tip and I'll get it out with a wet little piece of toilet paper. And it's no, my dad would do that. He'd get stuff in his eyes and he'd be all in there. He got a piece of metal embedded into his eyeball. It was actually a piece of the wire from a wire grinder.
I've done that.
And it had gone into his eyelid or into his eyeball, and every time he blinked it was cutting the inside of his eyelid, and they had to drill a hole in his eyeball eventually to get that thing out with an itty-bitty eyeball drill. I shit you not. So my thing was just awful. Them cutting on my eyelid, injecting needles of painkiller into my eyelid, which didn't seem to do anything. And then I can still remember squeezing my toes in my shoe because you don't want to flinch. But it's cutting on my eyelid, and it's rolled all backwards, and it's in this weird apparatus to keep it all open. It was fucked.
Did they have a TV?
What?
Did they have a TV like the dentist?
Fuck no, they didn't have a TV like the dentist. No, they just had 4 concerned nurses looking down with those blue hats on.
When I had a metal shrapnel, I'll call it, in my eyeball. So when I do woodworking, I'm really diligent about wearing eye protection. But I just had a quick hold a drill using a drill press, and it moves so much more slowly than a saw. I underestimated the danger. And anyway, I drill it. I'm kind of bit me. Now I have this personality quirk in that I every time I was sick as a child, I was accused of faking, a lot. They never believed me. They always thought I was faking. And in fairness, I never faked. I just kind of pumped it up a little.
Yeah, a bit of a Meryl Streep when he was.
Yeah, I don't feel well. Maybe I could get out of school. So But it stuck with me as an adult, and I'm like, I swear, like, am I faking? No, this hurt. Anyway, so I go to the eye doctor, and he's like, yeah, there's a metal shrapnel in here. I'm like, are you sure? And he said, Woody, it's rusting. I was like, all right. Yeah, just please get that out.
So you guys, honest to the bone about your cancers. You handled it like warriors. I know you both wear the rubber bands. And meanwhile, I want to know, because I'm not
I've got a cancer
people
survivor
think it's a bracelet. For me, it's a cock ring.
Yeah.
Constantly falling off. I'm always losing it.
No, don't give away my secrets.
He's got a whole drawer of those things, folks.
Only because I stretched it out.
Just live strong, live hard. So you guys, you would never ever lie about your cancer. When you
never say never.
Never say
never. Like, what if you had AIDS from a blood transfusion, but you knew our audience wasn't going to believe that shit? So you know what I mean?
Dude, that would be brutal, because there's no way they'd buy it.
They know what, like, man, I'm getting all. But
do you think
my blood drawn like every 6
blood
weeks?
Transfusion, our audience would be sympathetic?
No.
No.
They'd be like, man, this is for the past. The show had to end eventually. Like, it's just
they wouldn't be chill about it at all. So, like, maybe then you say you have cancer, but I don't think you're stealing any valor. You're just like making up for some misinformation that might be out there. I think Magic Johnson got his from straight sex somehow, and then I can't remember who I was reading about the other day. It was this famous person in art or media or something, and it was a blood transfusion. I was just thinking, like, God, that would be so it does happen. Like, there's a percentage of occurrence, like, regularly. Yeah. They allowed, like it's kind of a touchy subject, but I think they only recently allowed homosexual men to give blood, right?
Yeah,
I didn't know they had recently allowed it.
Yeah. I believe so. It was my understanding. I think that was like 3 or 4 years ago. Time flies when you're having fun.
I've given blood more recently than that, so I can tell you, like,
they let you in, huh?
A year ago they kicked you right out the door if you fucked a guy lately.
Yeah, I know. They rejected my blood last time because I had those syphilis antibodies. Right. It was the sex with men. I checked the box. It's just a butch girl. Leave it alone. But it's no, I had syphilis antibodies, I guess, and I did some research and talked to my doctor, and apparently you like keep them for a long time after you've had syphilis. That's been a while ago.
Yeah, because that's curable.
So you'd still pop. Does that mean you would test positive for syphilis if you have antibodies? That's what they do, right?
I think no, because I test regularly.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like, not anytime after I got all that fucking penicillin in my ass. That was really cool. They let me inject myself. I thought that was awesome. She came with that big shot, and I was like, "Oh, that's a big needle. Can I do this?" I didn't trust her to do it. Like, I know
this is my last day. You do whatever you want.
That's basically what she fucking said. She was like, "Where would you do it if I let you?" And I was like, "Right here in the top of my glute."
I wouldn't attack you with it if that's what you're thinking.
Well, she was making sure I was like, had some semblance of an idea of what the fuck I was doing. And like, I've been stabbing that muscle in my ass every other day for months at this point. So it was just like, I know what I'm doing. I know my ass better than she does. She just knows asses.
I know it better.
There you go.
We should get back to Boogie.
Yes. Oh, yes. We haven't even mentioned.
Yes, no mercy for Boogie.
It is
Boogie the liar.
It's strongly thought that he's been a big old fibber about his cancer situation.
He's always, little fibber, big. He's always a big fibber.
One of the biggest fibbers I've ever seen.
I mean, in terms of volume physically. Or mass or
yeah.
So I remember when we found out that Boogie had cancer and Dick Masterson had like a celebration show. It was like
I do remember that.
It was like a Halloween episode of The Simpsons. He like brought out all the stops. He laughed hysterically, like he'd heard the funniest thing in his life. He was celebrating. He was cheering. I think they were playing sound effects.
Yeah.
So he must be down in the dumps now to find out that Boogie's in fact not dying.
So Boogie went on TRT, and TRT increases your red blood cell count.
Oh.
Cancer can also increase your red blood cell count. So Boogie, knowing it was one of these two things, told everybody that it was cancer and started using it to like fundraise and get money and pay for his doctor's bills.
Did he do that?
Did he?
Well, yeah, he used it to promote his crypto coin or something. I watched a CoffeeZilla video about it, and then he rug pulled the crypto coin, which I barely understand. But so he needed to give like $5,000 back, and they knew that he had $5,000 in the bank, and he's like, no, you don't understand. The $5,000 from crypto I've spent on medical bills. It's at Mercy Hospital. The $5,000 in the bank, I scrimped and saved for that. It has nothing to do with the $5,000 I got from crypto. Those are wildly different things, as if cash is not fun.
This is like that Iranian oil fund that we keep cutting off and turning on.
So he said that he needed this money to pay his bills and such. And then they pulled like Keemstar in, and Keemstar's like, he makes enough money to pay his mortgage. I don't know what he's talking about. But he was crying poverty and medical bills and such to raise cash. I swear, like at some point, does crypto not become a scam because everybody knows it's a scam? If I made a lose your money coin, could investors really be like, I had no idea what I was getting into?
I have no idea. I feel like there's not a lot of forgiveness for people who put their whole life savings in.
You know what I've seen?
2988.
It was the fatty coin, right? Like the Boogie2988 fatty coin. Did you really think this was you were getting in on the ground floor of an event?
I don't think there's anything fraudulent about those coins. I think that it's almost like it's like a raffle or a cakewalk or something. Except the guy who owns the coin knows when the fucking music stops. You know what I mean? It's like that. And it's like you're jumping in on a game that's fixed against you. Like maybe you time yourself well, and like on the ride you're selling and buying and like. But if you don't know the day when the guy who has 50% of the fucking coin is going to dump, then you're just playing along with this. Scam's a hard word.
To make a PKA lose your money coin and then get interviewed by CoffeeZilla and try to defend like this was not a scam. We told them what was going to happen. This is a donation.
Everyone knew. Everyone. There's a disclaimer.
There's a disclaimer. You will not make money on the PKA scam. Go ahead and buy a coin, you fucking rube.
The website asked them 4 times, "Are you sure?" See how many captchas they had to get through to actually buy the scam of the coin?
And they were trick captures. Those bikes were overlapping into a lot of squares.
They identified which were bikes, which were boats, and how to spell a word.
So he fibbed seemingly, and Zach posted the most recent update. I'm going to read it here. To the best of my knowledge, based on everything I know, I think this is actually from Keemstar, and Keemstar and Boogie and Wings do that show together, and so Keem is pretty plugged in with Boogie's life. To the best of my knowledge, based on everything I know, Boogie went on steroids that could have caused cancer in the blood years ago and was warned of the dangers. 2 years ago, after he'd lost all his money in crypto, he went to the doctor and had high red blood cells indicating he may have cancer in his blood. Before he got any confirmation, he rushed to make a YouTube video announcing he had cancer. 2 years later, he still doesn't have confirmation he has cancer, but he's been telling everyone he does and used it for sympathy many times. Whether it was promoting his crypto scam or asking people to financially support him lying about the cancer could be considered fraud. He is scheduled to get a confirmation test to see if he 100% has cancer soon. So ironically, even though he lied, he may still have cancer. And he was also, that's the end of the quote, I believe, from Keem. And he also, a number of people offered money to him to show his positive cancer tests. And it added up to like 80,000 that. Yeah.
Holy shit. Dude, he's like Randy Marsh. He's in the backyard getting sun with a microwave open next to himself, getting a daily fucking x-ray flash at the dentist. He's like, please, Lord, strike me down.
He's just buying red 40 dye off the dark web, guzzling it, trying
he's smoking a pack an hour. Oh my God.
So he's someone who's always, he's an online content guy, so he's going to try and make money in whatever content way he can. And to turn down,
he chose acting.
$70K. Just like if he had cancer, why not take a free $70,000? And apparently, according to Zach, he said that's his last shred of privacy, which is
nonsense.
Very clearly a lie. $70,000 to show that you
does that offer extend to anyone?
If he has cancer,
I want to go back to.
I really had.
I want to go back to what Keem said though, because he said there at the end that maybe I misunderstood. It seemed like there was now maybe a new sign that there could be real cancer. And I like that he threw in there, like, ironically, after lying for 2 years about having cancer, he may now actually have cancer. Is that not proof that there is a God? Like
it's lining up. But
No,
I mean, the fact that
I've been proving really wrong about God all week. I've been checkmating him in on WhatsApp.
Just swish after swish, dude.
He goes silent. He goes silent.
Was that when I said Jackie's standing in front of me with her purse on, saying I'm ready to go? Is that what I?
Yeah. Oh yeah. He's making up excuses and stuff. He said he had to go to the cancer doctor at one point. Like, he was just whatever he could do to get out of that God conversation. Checkmate.
Yeah, Boogie. Like if Boogie had a positive,
I went Terrence Howard on it.
Yeah, we need Terrence Howard to tell us that cancer is not even a real thing and it's caused by bad math or whatever.
That's bad vibes right there. See, you vibrating at the wrong frequency. You vibrating at the frequency
now, see,
of the constellation of Cancer.
Your humors are out of touch. Your dark bile and your yellow bile is at odds.
That Terrence Howard stuff has completely captivated me. I've been showing it to Jackie. Terrence Howard, he seems to be really into physics and math, right? But the thing is, it's really fun to know things, and it really sucks to learn things. Like, learning is hard. Going to school, doing math equations, rocking stuff like that is just exhausting and brutal. But watching fucking somebody else's Cosmos YouTube video is fun, right? Mm-hmm. So that's the level that Terrence Howard understands these things. And he starts throwing together terms from left and right in an effort to defend his point. Yeah. Say it again.
They did a second show with Joe, and they brought a real scientist on to sit next to him.
I watched it.
I hope that the scientist just enabled and was like, "That's cute."
Yes, he did. He did. So Terrence Howard would repeat like one thing that made sense and a whole bunch of bullshit in there. Like, he was trying to prove that math was fundamentally wrong. And along the way, for example, one of the pieces that I did understand is he's like, that's the problem with the Dewey Decimal System. The Dewey Decimal System says that a couple of times. What he's trying to say is that decimals are somehow incorrect and don't work. But he's referring to the catalog system that libraries use to divide fantasy from biology.
We all remember tell me you're old. Tell me you're old without telling me you're old. I know how to use the Dewey Decimal System.
I remember I was like the last age to learn it, and even in that time, I'm like, what are we doing? Like, like the internet's clearly here to stay.
We were too poor.
Back in my day, the card catalog was how you found everything, and you didn't have to memorize the Dewey Decimal System. It was posted everywhere, but you did use it. And just like along the way, every so often, I'll like understand what he's at. He would say he'd take the periodic table of elements, and then I forget what he was using exactly. Maybe the weight or something.
The atomic weight.
It was the atomic weight, and then he would like square it, and then he would put a note that he calls the key, right? So he's like, this is in the key of E. He doesn't mean the key. He means like the frequency that E happens. And he's presenting it as if he's discovered something amazing. I can take the atomic weight of carbon and express it, and it's an E. And then I take the atomic weight of oxygen and I express it, and it's a G. But boron and carbon have the same key, which he means note. And I'm like, this is fucking bullshit. You can take anything, use its number, and express it as a note. Like it has a hertz. I can go to the grocery store and grab prices off the shelf and be like 333 megahertz is some key. I don't know what the fuck it is. This you take the price of chicken, eggs, whatever. The thought that you take the weight of an atom and turn it into a note and like you've done something. I can go through the Dewey Decimal System and tell you what key fantasy is versus science fiction. That's the same thing.
Yeah, there are other scientists who have sort of taken him down or really just replied to him politely, if anything, and spent an hour and a half at a time refuting his ranting and raving and nonsense. And it's like you said, Woody. It's the problem is I think that you see this a lot with actual crazy people. If you look at those scribblings they'll have in their notebooks, it's like, what? This looks like something.
There's a lot of math, emblems in here. Maybe it is something.
This looks very official and also insane at the same time, and that's kind of how Terrence Howard strikes me. I wish he'd just be a goddamn actor. He's pretty fucking good at that. I wish he'd stop being a crazy person.
He's got like all the crazy of Ted Kaczynski and none of the math background. Like,
I wonder, is he still
crazy like a
actor?
fox?
Is he still acting well?
I haven't seen him do anything in a very long time. Of course, like I think he did like one of those black TV shows that's super popular, but it's not my jam. I think maybe he was on that Juicy Smollett show with him, something like that.
Or maybe
that sounds right.
Perhaps. But I remember him from back in the day when he was in Hustle and Flow, where he's like a pimp, but he's a rapping pimp who's trying to get out of the pimp game and into the rap game, and it's really good. It's really good, and he's good in it.
To that.
My vibe is he's currently a crazy person who needs meds or something. Like he doesn't seem to know that he's crazy and needs to be on meds. And I'm not sure you could hire him today and get a good performance out of him.
I think the crazy helps with the performances somehow because, like Gary Busey was arguably demented his entire career.
Yeah.
Now
Wasn't he in a motorcycle accident?
Yeah, he
now
was
he's crazy.
Well, that's so. Yeah, he had a motorcycle accident without a helmet. I was told once that he just fell over, like he dropped the bike and went with it, and that's all it was. But who knows?
No, he died like Country Man.
There's probably
his face get altered.
His brain got opened up. He got permanent, real brain damage, and they let him keep acting. And he was always like kind of a real high intensity, kind of almost goofy a little bit, like on the somewhere between like rageful and goofy is where he'd be. He'd be like. And then he had that brain injury, and it was clear that there was a retarded man acting in a movie now, and it was weird. It was fucking weird.